Good evening and salutations, my J fans. Wow. Okay. True. Man, I don't know. Uh, my goodness. I feel like they have, and not just for today's episode, but they have really went out their way to make Drew the most unlikable character that you could possibly make. Now, you know, there was points when I would do these reviews and I would talk about Drew, like Drew's a good man and Drew's a good man, and let's just be honest, I was trolling heavy, okay? I was trolling heavy. Yes, it's very true that I do love messy characters, and you know what? Listen, sometimes people just have to be a villain, right? And I accept that. When I read the description and it said that Drew has sunk to a new low. This was on my DVR box, and I was just like, Drew sunk to a new low. What can he have possibly done? I really feel like this is over exaggerated. Then after like 20 minutes, I watched it, and when it first happened, it was like, oh wow, it was like wow. I, I'm just like, bro, is there just any line that this man will not cross? Right now, I could defend a lot. But even I have my breaking points, right? When I say he sunk to a new low, no, they weren't exaggerating. This was not oh ha ha tee hee. It's like no, he really did sink to a new low. See, this man don't want a reconciliation between Willow and Michael. And when you stop to think about it, his whole move to DC, this level of isolation, isolating her from the family. She saw Michael and he saw Michael and Willow just kind of being civil, being co-parents or whatever, and he took away just beyond just jealousy. No, he wants to literally control her, and moving her to DC will definitely do that. So he's with Rick, and he's like, I can't let this happen, everything like that, and Christina brung the kids or whatever to go see the new baby. And, she has to use the restroom or whatever, so she takes Amelia. And Lucas takes the phone call, so it's just Wiley. Drew is talking to Rick, and he says, well, now that Michael's back, he doesn't want Wiley and Amelia anymore. So now he has a new baby to sit there and focus on. It's just this is why we have to sit there and take the kids because he doesn't want Wiley and Amelia anymore. And I'm just like, afterwards he says he hated doing that, bro. You just caused emotional damage to someone that you claim to love. That is your goddamn nephew. That is even if that wasn't your family, that was a child that you did that to. Now, the point of that is to cause some sort of discourse between Michael and Willow, and you used a child to do it. I'm like, bro, I don't put anything past him at this point. If you were able to sit there and hurt a child, manipulate a child, and it's in there getting what you want, there's no line that I don't think that you would cross. I really don't. Like, I don't. And, Michael comes in and Michael finds out. Now, he has to sit there and kind of, kind of undo a little bit what Drew Smith is saying, and he finds out that Drew was the one that said that. So he tells Willow, right? Now he called Willow before. He was like, hey, let's sit there and let's kind of talk it out before the court case or whatever. He finds that out. He makes a beeline to Willow. Now Willow is all happy with Nina. Like, okay, that's good. Maybe I can sit there and co-parent and stuff like that. No, there ain't no such thing as co-parent. As long as that man is in her life, no, 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 no. And he tells her, he's like, yo, listen, this is what he said to our son. He said that because he knew that Willow was going to overhear it. And Willow was like, well, that's not true. He wouldn't do that. He's a good man. Granted, when I said that, I was not there trolling, but the point is, this is what she said. So it's either somebody, kind of misunderstood what he said, or you're sitting there trying to turn me against Drew. At this point, Michael's like, all right, F it. Just remember this day where you decided to, pick Drew over your family. Now, Willow, even if she had a little bit of misgivings or whatever, she could have sat there and talked to her son and be like, yo, listen, did you overhear Drew Smith there saying that? You couldn't even sit there and bother to question your son just to be like, hey, did that happen? Like, what's going on? The problem is, even if she would have questioned it, she would have been like, oh, well, I think that Michael put you up to it or something like that. So it's crazy, you know? It's like if you can. I like to sit there and think that Willow could sit there and be a good mother, but it's very difficult when she is so easily manipulated into not even bothering to believe the father of your child, or to even sit there and question, did Drew even say that? You didn't even bother to do that, so it just puts me in this very odd position where it's like I find myself sometimes defending her, then I see things like that, and I'm just like, really, really. Anyway, they start this whole custody hearing, and Willow's like, oh, I don't think Michael's a good father. He chose to leave to go to Germany instead of staying close out here. I'm like, well, you're a nurse. Don't you think it would be in Michael's best interest to go to the best care facility possible? And then she was like, oh, well, when I came out there, he didn't even want to see me. Michael was like, yeah, I didn't say that. Meanwhile, I think she also thanked Nina for something, for using the information to help her out in the case and everything. At first, she was like, "Oh, you're lying to me." And then she was like, "No, I'm not upset. I'm glad, actually." I am so confused. I'm not even gonna sit there and go further with that. But after that, like I said, so she's like, "Oh, well, he chose to leave to go to Germany instead of being close to kids. There was a lot of times he was working. He wasn't always there for family functions and stuff like that, and being with the kids." And I'm just like, that is so fucking foul. Like, you really think they're trying to make it seem like he's some sort of absentee dad or whatever. Like, yeah, there's times where parents have to sit there and work a little bit later, and sometimes they miss things that, they don't want to miss, but they have to miss. And again, also when she was happy, she was happy when she first heard Michael and stuff like that. So, oh, well, this is the Michael I remember, that the kind and gentle Michael. It's like, girl, you sit there saying that you're happy about seeing this Michael, as though you weren't a part that caused him to turn into this version that you say that you don't recognize. Of course, you don't recognize. You helped build this version. The lies and the cheating and being around a man who clearly has no problem manipulating your own goddamn son. But you want to sit there and say, "How did we get like this?" Or, "I don't recognize you." That's the thing. That's the issue that I have with her, because she's like Ashley, on Beyond the Gate. She turns good men into assholes, and then she stands there and wonder why they're assholes for her. Lucky's leaving, and he says bye to Liz, and he drops her off, and he talks to Lulu. He co-signs her bullshit when he finds out what she did, and then he leaves. And part of me, I'm just gonna put it this way, because I hear a lot of the chatter about Lucky leaving and being a flop, and the writers failed him, and maybe I'll make a separate video about this. All I'm gonna sit there and say is it is a lot more complicated than just simply putting everything on the writers. Okay, let's say this again. It's a lot more complicated than simply putting it on the writers. Okay, because at the end of the day, writers only have so much power. Somebody gets fired, you can't sit there and say, "Oh, the writers fault. The writers run them off." I'm pretty sure there's a chain of command, and the writers didn't decide, I don't like this character. Let's fire this actress. Like, that's not how it works. So, all I will sit there and say is a lot more complicated than just simply saying that it's the writer's fault and the writers failed them. Because there's a list of people that is responsible for the way that this story ended. And it is not just on the writers. I'm not saying they're not a part of it. I'm just saying they're not the only people that's involved. Anyway, he leaves. I think today's his last day, so you got that going on. Marco was there talking to Ava. Christina came back to the pool and was having kind of some PTSD thing going on. And then she approaches Ava and is like, "Oh, I see you return back to the scene of the crime." And we done discussed that whole thing at length as far as who's responsible and everything like that. And it's more than just a simple Christina shouldn't have been there. And it's more than just Ava putting her hands on a pregnant woman, right? Like, I feel like there's two parts to that. But here's the thing, though. Girl, you're not in a position to really sit there and be talking greasy to Ava, okay? Because Ava has not just your life, but also your mother's life in the palm of her goddamn hands, right? And even if you feel like, oh, well, she wronged you and she pushed you and everything like that, which I don't understand, there's a fine line between pushing and pulling. It's not hard, but even if you just ignore that, you really think you're in a position to really be sitting there talking to her like that? And of course, Ava softly reminds her, freedom is a very wonderful thing. And then she walks off. And then she contacts Cody and says, "You want to make some money." Now, Cody has been sitting there trying to make some money, been trying to pitch an idea to Carly about singles night, and then trying to get Ava alone to, kind of talk to her and everything. But she had things to do, and so hopefully, he wants to sit there and try with her again, so he's going to try that. Rocco was sitting there talking to Lulu, and then he goes to the pool and talks to Gio. And Gio, they have somewhat of a civil conversation, and two, Rocco brings up his dad. And then he just kind of shuts that down like, "Yo, listen, I know what he thinks about me. And just because he's my father or whatever, that doesn't mean shit gotta change, right?" And he even says, "Listen, we can lay off the whole brothers thing or whatever. Let's just be friends and see how that goes, instead of just trying to jump into this automatic relationship of brother and brother, whatever." So he's still keeping his guard up. He's still, Cody feels bad. He offered him some money, which I'm like, bro, you trying to get money. You're already up there trying to give him some money. And I think it's, obviously because he feels responsible, or partly responsible. Chase does what he can to make Brooklyn feel better, and then Brooklyn hires, or is going to hire, Marco, probably to sit there and sue Lulu for something. Which I'm just like, Lulu feel like she didn't really do anything wrong. So I'm like, okay, cool. You kind of destroyed my son's life. She puts this all on Lulu. I feel like there is a little bit of blame to go around, but whatever. Um, It's oh, and then after Lucas was talking to Wiley, talked to Liz, and Liz was like, just a little upset about Lucky leaving and how different that they are. But Lucky, when Lucky was there talking to Liz, he was like, I still love you and everything like that. And I'm like, love is not always enough. And throughout his time of dating different people, I'm just surprised that Lucky did not learn that. But now he's retcon, he's Luke 2.0, and also Lucky's gonna spend some time with Aiden traveling for the summer. So if we don't see Aiden, that's pretty much why. Um, so yeah, she knows it's the right thing to do, but she's still kind of heartbroken about it. You know, I will sit there and say it is amazing that a lot of times when these stories unfold or a character leaves or they abruptly leave or whatever, it's never just a simple thing. There's usually a lot of behind the scenes stuff that goes on that most people don't know about. I didn't know about this stuff before I did YouTube or, when I first started watching it. You know, well, yeah, when I first started, before when I was watching it and before the YouTube days. So much stuff. Remember that chick, Reese, the chick that used to be on Sliders? Yeah. If YouTube was around back then and I was actually doing YouTube, man, I would have had a story to sit there and tell. Y'all should Google it, by the way. Not as simple as it just may seem like she just left it like that. Oh, and I think no, because he does gotta sit there and talk to Isaiah before he leaves. Man, oh man, I feel like I'm going through goddamn pages. I know Michael did talk to Christina. I don't even remember what they talked about, but I think it had something to do with Drew. Yeah, I feel like that's about it. But I think that's also the general gist of what I have to sit there and say about the episode anyway, so I might have left some stuff out. Now, tonight I'm not actually going to do a live stream. One, it's late, but more importantly, it was a day. It was a very long, obnoxious day when I had to deal with a bunch of very idiotic people. Because of that, I am not exactly in the best of moods. At least enough to have patience to sit there. It takes a certain level of patience to do. For me, to do live streams, as fun as it is, it's just I need a certain level of patience to do it. I'm going to be honest. I'm actually surprised I got through this. I don't know if I'm actually going to be able to do a behind the case review, but I'm going to try it. I'm trying. It's kind of late. Maybe I'll just do one tomorrow or something. I don't know. I don't know. I'm going back and forth. But I want to sit there and at least get out this review. Also, since I have your attention for a minute. So, tomorrow I'm going to do my best to sit there and try to do a live stream. After that, Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday, I'm not going to be streaming and I'm not going to be actually doing reviews because I have a wedding to go to. Which is sort of almost like a 3-day event. I mean, it's really a 2-day event, but the problem is the wedding day, I'm not going to be watching any soaps. So the Thursday stuff I'm going to be catching up to Friday, and then the Friday stuff I'm going to be catching up to Saturday. So in a sense, it's like a 3-day event. And again, I'm going to have to sit there and do my best to sit there and try to get through stuff on Wednesday. So it's gonna be kind of a tricky thing, but yeah. And also I'll put it in the community tab too. So in case anyone misses it, I will put it there as well. Anyway, with that being gone, anything with that being said, I'm gonna go. And I thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video, and hopefully live stream tomorrow. But we'll see.